So before we start off, my name is Briana Okyere. I'm your friendly community manager from Astronomer, if you can't tell. And I'm really excited about this panel today because we have a vast array of contribution experience represented here today. So if you are thinking about contributing, Srabasti just made her first contribution recently. If you're thinking about the whole journey, Ryan and Amogh are both committers to the project as well. And we'll have them kind of dig into what that means a little bit following this. So just want to say, Airflow has grown from a small internal tool at Airbnb to a thriving open source project used by organizations worldwide to orchestrate their data pipelines. But what makes Airflow truly special is its community of contributors who've driven its evolution, bringing in new features, fixing bugs, and improving documentation, which benefits everyone in this room. So today we have a very diverse panel of contributors who will share their experiences, challenges, and successes in working on the Airflow project. So like I said, whether you're a seasoned developer, a data engineer, or someone new to open source contributions, this panel will offer valuable insights into how you can get involved, make meaningful contributions, and become more involved in the Airflow community as a whole. So I want you to join me in welcoming our panelists today, Ryan Hatter, Amogh Desai, and Srabasti Banerjee. And each of them brings a unique perspective to contributing to Airflow. So I really want to dive into their stories with you. We'll have time for a Q&A at the end as well. So I like my sessions to be interactive. If a question comes up in the middle, you could actually just raise your hand and ask it if it's like really top of mind for you. So let's get cozy. So with that, I'll ask each panelist to sort of introduce yourself, a little bit about, how you got involved with Airflow, just a quick brief summary.
Sure. So I'm Ryan Hatter. I lead the Airflow half of Astronomer's CRE or support team. I've been involved with Airflow since like 2020. I didn't really even know what data engineering was at the time. I just kind of knew that Airflow was this thing that everybody was trying, and I started playing around with it. Slowly started making contributions, and a couple months ago, I was named a committer. So that's committing to or contributing to Airflow has quite literally changed my life. Like, that's not dramatic. It really made a huge impact on my life, and it's been an awesome experience.
Yeah, so I'm Amogh Desai. I work as a senior software engineer at Cloudera. So yeah, my day-to-day involves building Spark on Kubernetes and Airflow on Kubernetes for a data engineering platform. I've flown in from Bangalore, and it has been a long journey to get here, but trust me, it's worth it. And I've been contributing to Airflow since the beginning of 2023, and I think just 1 year ago I was declared a committer, and I majorly focus on Breeze, Helm charts, CNCF5 providers, as well as a bit of scheduler as well. So, yeah.
Hello, everyone. Myself, Srabasti Banerjee. I'm a senior data engineer at Five9. I've been contributing to Airflow since last year, so very happy to be here. Thanks to the organizers and the organizing committee and community. It's a very welcoming community. So awesome, love it here.
So my first question is, so what inspired each of you to start contributing to Airflow, and what was your first contribution? Let's start with you, Amogh.
Okay, so very simply speaking, we all do our day jobs, right? So and that's where it ends. So if you leave the company, your title, your everything ends right there. So I kind of wanted to have an identity of myself in the tech space outside of my day job, so that people know me for who I really am in terms of the tech space. So I thought I've been reading things about open source right from my college days. So I thought I strongly believe that it's the best forum to start and kind of put yourself out there. So I started by exploring the projects that have some overlap with my day-to-day job, and there were two such projects, Apache Airflow and Apache Spark. But Airflow turned out to be a very interesting one for me because Spark is extremely mature, so there's very less room for improvement, or it's very hard to get into the community. So Airflow was the right one for me because it's much easier to get into the community because it's growing. There's a lot of things happening, and the community is great. So I came to know about this part of the story because I was once told to give a talk in one of the airflow days that we had at our office. So yeah, when I did that, we had a couple of talks. I gave one, but we also had Yarek there who had a short talk, maybe a couple of minutes about how to contribute, and I kind of really liked the way he explained. So I followed his footsteps, and I eventually gotten into contributing to Airflow. And yeah, when I did that, my first pull request was, I think, fixing a few links, I believe, in the documentation. And yeah, sadly enough, Yarek requested changes on that one as well. But it was some sort of Sphinx error. So once I fixed that, he merged it, and I was like, wow, I should do this more often.
Yeah, I've always kind of loved like the idea behind open source. Like anybody can build on things, and then anyone can take it and do anything with it. I think it's a powerful thing. And I was at a company a couple jobs ago, and we were building out the data platform for which Airflow would be a pretty critical component of. I remember saying that, like I told my boss, I was like, Airflow is easy. We don't need any kind of managed service or anything like that. We can do it ourselves. Very fortunately, he didn't listen to me. And a lot of people didn't at the time. But someone who was helping us build out our platform, I reached out to him for some advice, and he was like, yeah, you like open source software. Why not start contributing to Airflow? If you become a committer at Airflow or go into the PMC or whatever, that'll give you a lot of credibility. And I was resistant. I was like, I don't really care about Airflow that much at the time. But he was pretty insistent, and it's really a good thing for me that he was. Because I've dove into Airflow quite a bit, and now I'm a committer, and it's a major part of my work life. My first PR, I think I created the Google Sheets to BigQuery operator in the Google Provider package. That was a while back, but I think that was it.
So I have always aspired to be an open source contributor. The idea of having open source code, anyone being able to use it and contribute. I feel that I spend a lot of time in, finding bugs, fixing bugs. And I always have this that, I want to help the other person, next person who's facing the same situation as me, spend less time, right? If I know the fix, I can just use it rather than try out different things. So I've been doing the Cloud Function implementation using Cloud Composer at 5.9. And encountered different issues, which I felt today's an agile world, right? Everything needs to be done in agile, and it was kind of a blocker for me. So for my findings, I was able to, I got to know about the process for open source contribution from a person, Frank Petrilli from Google. He enlightened me and shared the process. Earlier, I was thinking that only people from Google and Amazon can do open source contributions, right? It's out of reach. How can I even think? But, knowing about the process and getting started with it, he inspired me, and, he told me the process, and he said, you can go ahead and do. And I went ahead and did. And that's where my first contribution started. So very thankful to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, and one thing that you sort of touched on, and I want to dig more into, is the professional development that can come along outside of your work or even within it when you're involved in a project like Airflow. So, for Ryan first, how has your involvement as a contributor impacted your professional development and career trajectory?
Yeah, well, it got me a job at Astronomer eventually. So I had known about Astronomer for quite a while. I didn't really feel like I was prepared. I gave a talk at Airflow Summit like 2021, just talking about imposter syndrome. So a lot of people in here might feel that. You're at a talk about becoming a contributor. That was something that I really kind of struggled with. I still don't think I'm a very good developer. I'm pretty confident in that, but that's okay. I'm good at other things. So someone, I guess a recruiter, had seen that presentation, and they came out and talked to me. I was like, whatever, I'll give it a try. I don't think I'm ready. But I did really well in the interview, and then contributing to Airflow got me a job at Astronomer. And quite candidly, this is the only job I've ever actually liked. So I joined the support team at Astronomer thinking that I would do it for 6 months and it would be an in to Astronomer and then I'd go do more glamorous stuff. It's been 2.5 years now and I'm still on the support team and I really enjoy this job. It's been awesome.
Yeah, in my case, it's a little different because I was not involved with Airflow, right? And yeah, but we kind of had our product focused on Airflow, and every time a customer request came in, we didn't care about the version, we didn't care about anything. We just went and started implementing it. So we were inventing the wheel for every single feature request or every single bug fix that the customer asked us. So yeah, it was kind of a pain, to be very honest. So yeah, once I started getting involved with the upstream, I realized that okay, why am I even doing this? So, there's a lot of stuff. When you get involved, you learn a lot about the architecture, a lot about debugging, a lot about things that are already happening upstream, right? So yeah, it kind of made my job easy, where we were just pulling in things from upstream, and we were kind of plugging it into the versions that the customers were using, and yeah, they were very happy, and we were able to do it in really quick turnaround times now. So I think, yeah, I would say we were able to onboard some very niche use cases, which otherwise would have been very, very difficult without me having a sense of what's happening upstream. And yeah, the other thing is, yeah, once you're involved with upstream and you're involved with open source, your opinions suddenly become more important. So people are like, oh, he knows what it's doing. So I think yeah, that's one thing that I observed. My opinions about things and my feedback was much more important, and it was actually considered when people were doing something regarding Cloudera's Airflow, for example. So
Awesome.
yes.
I think being an open source contributor has really increased my networking. It's really nice to network with like-minded people, talking about the same tools, technologies, and different ways to do the same things, right? There can be many different ways to do the same thing. Hearing about the different perspectives and then being able to do what we feel best. And what I love is this, this ideas, like say, for example, I have an idea, then others are able to suggest different suggestions in order to make it better. So that kind of interaction really makes the product and the work product deliverable better. So that is what I really like about open source contribution.
Yeah, the feedback is sometimes it's too much, but it always ends up making it better in the long run, right? Yeah. So I'll start with Amogh for this next one. Let's talk about any significant contributions you've made and sort of the impact those have had, and anything you're particularly proud of.
That's a hard one. So how do I choose my own contribution? So okay. So yeah, I've been contributing to different areas of Airflow, Breeze, Helm charts, Hive, and Kubernetes providers. So yeah, okay, three of them come to my mind when you say something I'm proud of. So yeah, historically, release managers who released providers, like Elad, for example, they had a lot of pain in doing that, because they kind of followed a lot of manual steps in order to, let's say, publish the docs when they complete the provider release. But it's a lot of manual steps. It gets irritating at one point. So, and you're doing a lot of manual steps, and that too across environments. When I say that, I mean Airflow and Airflow site. So 2 repositories. So very prone to error. So that's something that Elad reached out to me once, and he told, oh, why don't we just do it in Breeze? Breeze is meant to solve problems like this for developers. So I was like, yeah, great idea. Let's start Breeze without knowing how to develop Breeze. So I started. So we got in a new command under release management called publish docs. So what this does is it automates the whole process of publishing the docs and kind of copying it across repositories within a single environment now. So people like Elad, they're not irritated anymore, and they can actually release every 2 weeks. So yeah, I think that's one of the contributions I'm really proud of. The second one would be, I don't know how many of you are aware, Airflow does have initial support for Kerberos. So that means Airflow can renew its own tickets and store it in the ticket cache. But yeah, this was not well thought of when it was developed. It was not the Kubernetes angle of it was not thought. So if you ran, let's say you ran a job that wants to connect to a Kerberos service through Airflow, the sidecar for Kerberos never dies. So that means irrespective of your job, the main container exiting, this one won't. So the pod has never been cleared, so it's a crazy state to be in. So yeah, I introduced a mode for it where you can run it as a daemon or a single process in a Kubernetes setting. So that one, and yeah, last one I would say is we had problems with people using the Hive provider to connect to HA connections. So again, that part was not considered while designing it since it's community driven, right? So we had that use case, and yeah, Airflow was breaking down very badly when people were trying to do that. So I added support where you can use the Hive provider, specifically the Hive CLI connection type to connect to HA connections now, high availability connections. So yeah, I think these are the ones I'm very proud of.
Awesome. Ryan, what about you?
I try to take advantage of, so I'm still a user of Airflow. Like the support team uses Airflow to monitor a bunch of other Airflows. And so I try to sneak in contributions to where I'm finding pain points. I was trying to debug mapped task instances, and it's a huge pain when there's 20 mapped task instances and they're numbered 1 to 20. And it's not conducive to debugging that. So I built a feature along with TP's help here to name map task instances. That's pretty helpful for people, I think. The crappy thing is I built the feature and then I still haven't implemented it in our own Airflow stack. So that's kind of a bummer. The one that I think was probably more impactful was stuck queued tasks. So prior to Airflow 2.6, tasks could get stuck and queued forever. So there was a feature, there was a configuration, I forget the name of it, but there was something that you could use that would put the task back into the scheduled state. But sometimes it just didn't work. And the implementation of it was kind of funky, I guess. So I refactored that to use the scheduler to query the database when a task was stuck in the queued state for more than 10 minutes by default. And that was so I would frequently get customers raising issues with tasks stuck and queued. So I wanted to kind of not have to deal with that anymore. So that was probably a more impactful one, I think. Yeah, those are the two bigger ones that I've done. Everything else has been docs and small things, which are equally helpful.
Nice. Srabasti, what about you?
Yeah, I've done a couple of documentation PRs, but the one which I'm most proud of is for the Cloud Function implementation using Airflow Composer. So the error logging using for the Airflow, I've been able to improve that so that a user doesn't have to go and search the logging for cloud logging, and instead can have the logs right away and see what the issue is and take a step on it.
Awesome. Yeah. And how many of you in this room have contributed to the project? Raise your hands. Okay. And how many have not? Yeah. Well, first of all. And how many have not? Okay, great. So this is a question. This is a good question for you guys. So what advice would you give to new contributors who are interested in getting started with Airflow? Ryan, we'll start with you.
Just start. We had a contribution workshop yesterday, and pretty much everybody was able to add their company name and their username to the list of Airflow in the wild. It might seem trivial, but that's a start, and hopefully everyone who's there caught the bug and is really interested in contributing more meaningful things. Open source is awesome. There are 3,000 plus contributors and counting. It's just really cool to be a part of the community. When I was getting started contributing to Airflow, Caxel, this is before I worked at Astronomer, so Caxel had no real reason to help me, but he took 30 minutes out of his day and walked me through the contribution guidelines. And took time out of his day to help me get started. And that's that kind of sense of community. You see it all over the place. So join the Slack, join the Airflow dev list. If you go to airflow.apache.org/community, there are a couple ways to start getting involved. You also don't have to do code contributions right away. You can do docs, which technically is a code contribution, but it's easier and smaller. You could just join the user troubleshooting channel in the Slack. If there are questions that you've already answered or that you already know, you might be able to help some other people who are struggling with Airflow. answer questions on Stack Overflow. There are a lot of ways to just get started contributing without actually, making code-related PRs.
And Amogh, what about you?
Yeah, I'm just going to stress on the fact that starting is the hardest part. I think I'm the right person to answer this because I'm the only committer from Cloudera. So starting was a really hard part for me. So what I did was I kind of just started jumping into different areas of Airflow, and I just raised like random PRs everywhere. So I got a lot of comments, and eventually I kind of got a hang of it. So I think once you start, there are a lot of like really great community members. Like in my case, it was Yarek and Elad. They were always there to help me. So I started, and they kept helping me. They kept giving me new tasks. So Elad even sends me tasks even today. So he's like, I have a problem with this. Can you please look into this? I'm like, man, I'm already a committer. Okay, so that's how it goes. So you'll find a lot of really nice people out there. So they're going to help you. You start and keep doing it for a while. One thing I want to kind of hint at. Last year, I was involved in. This year also, I was involved in taking the first contribution workshop, right? So we got a lot of first timers committing their code, but that's the end of it. So they did not continue. So consistency is the key. Keep doing it for a while, and within no time you'll get really comfortable with the project, and I mean, you'll be so interested that you'll find issues yourself, and you'll end up fixing them.
And what's your advice, Srabasti, for new contributors?
So for new contributors, I think using the Slack channel, that has been a very kind of good thing, because I'm able to ask for inputs or feedback and also provide my inputs. As a new user, I might not have too much intricate insider knowledge for Airflow. However, having worked on Composer, I'm able to go into the Slack and see what the other users, what they are facing, and accordingly I comment and help out with my ideas and inputs and whatever my experience. And other than this, I think there's a lot of bias which is in mind, like for me especially. Initially, I didn't know that you could contribute by yourself, and at times you might be, kind of scared that why put something out in the common, and people will look, no one will reply. What about that? So the point here, eventually, that I thought about, I'd been hearing about this, and the point is, even if you don't ask, it's a no, and even if you ask, then at least someone has an opportunity to see and then help out. If you don't even ask or any question, you won't even get any answers. So that is one key thing that I would like to, mention. And a big call out to the community. Like for me, I was stuck trying to make my first contribution, and I was helped, like someone from India, right? Being on a call, getting the issue resolved. So I was able to make the first commitment. So that has been a really big thing. So it's all just ask for support and you will get it. That's all. And a call out to the community too. Actually, thanks to all of you for helping, right? Because that's how new contributors like me can actually come in picture and start contributing.
Awesome. Yeah. And on that vein, we're collaborating across time zones and cultures, etc. So how do you sort of maintain healthy collaboration within the community? I'll start with you, Srabasti.
Just one thing I wanted to add to the last answer. These guys mentioned that you can use Slack, DevList, etc. Right? But GitHub discussions and GitHub issues are also. It's a place where you can, basically have chats. So there has been a scenario we've had like hundreds of conversations on a GitHub issue. I know it's odd, but it happens sometimes.
It's a really good point. Yeah. So maintaining like a healthy sort of collaborative space, like how do you sort of approach that as a contributor?
Yeah. So I think as a collaborative, being respectful of others' time, that, someone else might be a different time zone, might be going through situations. So if you ask for something and you don't get a response back immediately, because that has happened to me, right? Then I tried different ways. I tried to contact another contributor that someone please start the workflow. It's not moving, right? So, I mean, you have to be persistent. You have to try out different ways and means in order to collaborate it, because it could be possible someone has a personal situation, right? And everyone collaborating across time zones, I have found it very collaborative and very helpful, because people are going out of the way to do. For me, I have my day job, right? I'm also a first contributor, right? First open source contributor at 5.9. So my day job and being a contributor, I'm also socially involved in different volunteering for different organizations. And I have my 2 daughters, right? So I have to drop and pick them up to classes and all that, right? But I still find the time, and I have been able to find the support people have given me, because they're able to meet as per my schedule, right? So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, well said. What about you, Ryan?
It's fortunate for me because I work with a lot of the committers and contributors already, so I can just slide into their work DMs. But as far as like, this is maybe a little bit more advice. Is when I started my career as an actuary, so this is completely unrelated to like coding. But I asked my boss, I guess, what was a dumb question, and I do think there are dumb questions. And he responded with a "Let me Google that for you" link. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but like it takes you to this thing where it types something into Google and then brings you the response. And I was like, okay, I get it. So coming with like a little bit of receipts to show that you've put in the work that justify you asking this question. So if you just go into the open source Slack and you just ask these questions that are easily Googleable or easily findable in the repo or something like that, you might not get a response. So try to at least put in a little bit of work and show some effort and make it clear that you showed effort before you kind of ask for help. But similarly, just like be respectful, of course. I don't think that's been a big issue largely in the Airflow community, which is pretty awesome. Everyone has been largely very collaborative and helpful. So I think just continuing to come with best intentions, assume best intentions in others, and we'll keep it a really great community.
Yeah, well said. And Srabasti, you touched on this just a moment ago, but obviously everyone has their day jobs, and then outside of that, they're contributing to Airflow. So how do you maintain that balance? I'll start with you, Amogh, on that one.
Yeah, that's a slightly hard question. So yeah, in my case, it's as simple as if you like something, you'll find the time to do it, right? So
Right.
so it's as simple as that. But yeah, in my case, what I did was, my main aim was to be consistent. Initial few days, I did not know what I was doing, so I was just kind of reading up on Slack, the emails, and I'm checking GitHub issues and things like that. But yeah, I was consistent. That's the key there. So in my case, I just kind of took out time from the beginning of my day on working days and like holidays. Yeah, obviously I had time here and there. So yeah, I was kind of pulling in time to do this, and yeah, I kept doing it for a while, and then yeah, you'll eventually find time. So I think it's a matter of balance, and that's something people can try. And yeah, it's not the only answer, but everything will kind of boil down to this. So
Did you say you start your day earlier to help contribute to Airflow, right?
exactly. So
Yeah, awesome. What about you, Srabasti?
I think for me, just finding time in between, having a support system, that's so helpful, right? So for quick things, I can just reach out over Slack, simple things, right? That helps a lot and get the conversation. And other than that, of course, like over weekends, whenever I can find my time in between all my different activities. That's how I do the open source contribution.
Yeah, weekends are helpful. What about you, Ryan? Anything to add there?
Not much to add, but yeah, weekends I do spend a decent amount of time if I'm bored on the weekend. I guess it's better than watching brainless TV, which I have certainly had a problem with in the past. But I don't have great balance. I guess sometimes I work in the evenings or on weekends. The best part is though when like some of the times I'll be facing some kind of pain point and I'll just turn my job into that. So it's working at Astronomer is kind of a cheat code. So I get to make my work about open source Airflow, which is fairly convenient.
You crack the code.
Yeah.
All right, and I'll direct this next question to you first. What do you see as sort of the future of Airflow? And I know we touched on that this morning in the Airflow 3 talk. And how can contributors play a role in that?
I'm a little nervous about all the different languages that are going to be able to that DAGs are going to be able to support. Because now I'm going to have to support that, and I only know Python, so that's going to be tough. But that is awesome, though. Like I love the idea of Airflow just continuing to grow. I mentioned earlier that I'm not a great developer, and I feel like Airflow is super underrated as a developer platform to be able to execute scripts or build out logic without having to worry about a lot of the underlying fundamentals. It's a really, really powerful platform that I think is very, and rightfully so, focused on data. Like the world sees Airflow as this data tool, but it's a lot more than that. It's an operations tool. That's what we use it for, like my team. And it does so much more than just moving data from point A to point B or supporting machine learning pipelines. So I'd love to see it, of course, continue to grow into the data space, but also continue to grow as a tool outside of data as well.
Yeah. What about you, Amogh?
Yeah, I mean, let's say in the long term, right? I see Airflow like being growing into one of the most important technologies for anyone and everyone who wants to do anything and everything with data, right? So I think we just saw the keynote in the morning that Airflow has we have the most the most active contributors. We just surpassed Spark very recently, and that obviously speaks for its popularity. So that, and with Airflow 3.0 coming in, I think there's a lot of excitement buzzing around. There are a lot of new features and also a lot of community requests being incorporated. So I think this is the right time for contributors like all of you and beyond to kind of help the AIP owners. So AIP is rolling out like left, right, and center. So it's the right time for all of you to kind of jump into the AIPs, try to see what you can do, and I mean, it's end of the day, it helps the community grow, it helps the product grow, and as well as it sets. If you do something like Airflow 3, it sets like a north star to your career as well. So I think that's what I see happening in the Airflow space in the long term.
Absolutely. Srabasti, anything to add?
Yeah, I think I'm very excited after hearing all the new features and the roadmap, everything. I'm very excited to see that, okay, there are different areas in which I can contribute. And now that I have the hang of it, so I'm looking forward to contribute more.
Thank you all so much. I really appreciate all your insights.